There are things that are under our control and others that are not under our control. Opinions, preferences, desires, and aversions arise. In a word, everything that is inherent to our actions. Outside our control are the body, wealth, reputation, authorities, and, in a word, everything that is not inherent to our actions. So begins the Manual of Life by the famous Greek philosopher Epictetus. For the Stoics, if you want to live a full life without excesses or disturbances of the mind, you must understand that there are things that are under your control and others that are not. Our duty is to spend our energy on all those things that are under our control and ignore those that are not. One of the biggest problems of a human being can face is the opinions of other people. No matter how hard we try, it is almost inevitable that we will be affected negatively or positively by them. If you really want to avoid being influenced by them, you must understand that other people's opinions, insults, or any kind of personal attack are not under your control. Epictetus teaches us how we should act in case we have been the object of an offense. Therefore, the purpose of this video is to extract the teachings from the famous book Manual of Life in order to reach a state of mind that allows us to reduce or annul all kinds of suffering arising from others' judgments. Through 7 teachings of Epictetus, you will learn why you should not worry about other people's feelings and thus reach a state where opinions cannot cause any harm. Lesson number 1. Insult and offense. Remember that the one who insults or strikes is not insulted. The one who insults is the criterion that establishes those actions as offensive. So if someone provokes you, keep in mind that it is your own opinion that is provoking you in the first place. Try not to get carried away by appearances, because once you buy yourself some time and give yourself a break, it will be easier to control yourself. One of the keys to stopping caring about other people's opinions is to understand that insults or offenses are not intrinsically harmful. The cause of the emotional discomfort that the insult actually brings comes from the way we process that insult. When someone belittles you, disrespects you, thinks that this insult will only harm you if you allow it to, if you react negatively to it, the sender of the insult will have achieved his goal. On the other hand, if you react stoically and don't give an opinion on the insult, the loser will be the one who insulted you. A person's worth should be measured by the ability to tolerate negativity, because unfortunately, this is a part of life. So when you feel insulted or offended, ask yourself, do I want to win or lose? Do I wish to succumb to what I cannot control? I will allow myself the license to draw a parallel within Stoicism with pleasures. If we want to stop being confused with them, it would not be by attacking desire. Desire will never disappear. It will accompany you until the end of your days. What will make the difference is how you process this desire, whether you surrender to it or ignore it. In this way, if you manage not to be upset by the insult, the satisfaction you will feel afterwards will make you a superior person, and you will be able to move steadily forward through adversity. You are probably thinking of that time when your day or your week was ruined by a negative opinion against your will. Let me say that I understand how you feel, because everyone has experienced this situation at some point. If this is the case for you, I recommend that you stay until the end, because in the following principles, we will expand on this aspect related to self-control. Lesson number 2. Firm purposes. If you have a firm intention to understand philosophy, be prepared from the beginning to be ridiculed, to suffer jeers from the crowd, To hear people say, suddenly he has turned philosopher, or where does this arrogant attitude on his part come from? Make sure you don't adopt this arrogant attitude and stick to the things that are beneficial to you. Because remember this, if you stick to your position, the same people who used to mock you will end up admiring you. However, if you allow yourself to be convinced by others, you will double the ridicule. This principle is fundamental for how many people ignore their true talents just to please dissenting voices. What Epictetus tells us is that if we fail to pursue the purpose we know we should pursue just for fear of others' opinions, we will make ourselves ridiculous twice over. First, because we have tried and not been able to follow through, and second, because we have given in to the opinions of others. This should not be misunderstood. Understand that if you fail or give up on that purpose, you are not doing the ridicule for nothing. The ridicule arises when the person gives up solely and exclusively to avoid friction with society, to avoid being opined upon. And there lies the real problem. Don't you think it's worth clenching your teeth for a while and dealing with mockery or questioning in exchange for being happy that you are living according to your own nature? You need to tell yourself, I will not allow the opinions of others to define who I am or what I am capable of accomplishing. I recommend that you think about this whenever you have to make a decision in your life. Consider your priorities and realize the real reason why you are making the decision you are making. Lesson number 3, fear and dishonor. Don't worry about the idea of living in dishonor and being nobody anywhere, because if the lack of honor depended on others, they would have the power to make us unhappy. And that is not so. Nor can they force us to participate in something unworthy. It is their problem to obtain power or to be invited to a feast. After all, why should lack of power or lack of invitation be a dishonor? Why should it be true that because of this, you are nobody anywhere? You are only somebody in the things that are under your own control and where your decisions matter most. This principle is very relevant in this day and age. How many times have you done something you really don't want to do just to gain someone's approval? Specifically on social media, we can see how social validation on platforms like Instagram is like a poison to the person. We must ask ourselves, is it worth changing who we really are just to gain a modicum of satisfaction? Is it worth putting the well-being of our mind in the hands of others? My answer is clear, no. If one day you are caught doing something you are ashamed of, but the action was not in any way malicious, should you care if people laugh at you or even marginalize you? What about the popularity aspect that this may bring? Does it really bring satisfaction? If your happiness depends on how popular you are, you will live in conflict because your happiness is not in your hands. So you will live in constant tension, changing your way of being in order not to lose status. Lesson number 4. Would you give your body to a stranger? If a person gives his body to the first stranger he meets along the way, you would surely be angry. However, you have no problem surrendering your mind to confusion and deception in front of anyone who wants to insult you. This principle revolves around the idea we discussed earlier, that it is up to you to turn an insult into an offense. As Epictetus says, you should have the same respect for your mind as you have for your body. I'm sure you wouldn't let a stranger into your house every day, knowing that the threat it would pose. However, when you receive an insult and process it as an offense, at that point, that person has entered your mind and may stay there for a few days. Why then do we allow these strangers into our minds when we would never let them into our homes. To reach a state where ignoring the negative feelings coming from the offense is possible, we need to accumulate discipline and self-control. This should be applied in all situations in life, including with your family. When you are angry, control that anger. You will save yourself a lot of unnecessary suffering, and you will feel more comfortable with yourself. Believe me, working on this can mark a before and after in your life. Lesson number 5. Repressing your actions. When you do something that, according to your best judgment, should be done, never be ashamed to be seen doing it, even though everyone may have a mistaken idea of what you were doing. For if you do not act correctly, give up the action itself. But if your action is correct, why should you fear that someone will misjudge you? I already mentioned this in the point about social media. The fact that your happiness depends on your popularity or validation from others causes you to stop doing what you believe is right, simply because people have a misconception about what you do. At this point, you are not acting for yourself, but for others. And you must ask yourself if it is worth living like this, because the decision is entirely up to you. Instead of seeking external validation and constantly worrying about the opinion of others, Stoicism encourages us to focus on ourselves and our own virtue. We should know ourselves deeply, understand our values, and act according to them, regardless of what others may think. Lesson number 6. If someone speaks ill of you, if someone harms you or speaks badly of you, remember that this person acts thinking that it is right for him to act that way. It is not possible to think that you would act according to what you consider right, but what it would not be right for him. Therefore, if he is judging from a false appearance, he's the one who is harmed by his mistake. Therefore, based on these principles, patiently tolerate the person who insults you, and on each such occasion, just say, "That's what it looks like to him." Epictetus focused on analyzing the motivation of the person who insults. What he tells us is that we cannot expect anyone to act according to what we consider good or according to our worldview. This way of thinking can be very harmful. You should ask yourself this: is it really possible to believe that everyone has the same worldview as you? It is quite naive to think so. In this world, there are as many ways of seeing it as there are people. And on a personal level, there are as many selves as there are people in the world. So if someone insults you, believing they know the truth about you, think hard about this. You are you. You know who you are. You know what you think. You know why you act and why you do what you do. The only one who knows the truth about you is yourself. So if a stranger insults you in any way, ask yourself the following questions. Have I acted badly? If the answer is no, ask yourself, can I get into his mind and understand why he insulted me? It seems obvious that you can't. Then, in case you have acted correctly and are faced with a lack of understanding regarding the motivation for the insult, you should be satisfied because you are the person in the world who knows himself best. And if you have acted correctly, you should not carry any regrets on your back. And as Epictetus said regarding the person who insults, so it seemed to him. Lesson number 7. Praemeditatio malorum. Anticipating obstacles makes us better able to overcome them and keeps us prepared for the ups and downs of life. It helps us maintain calm and clarity of thought, even in the most challenging moments. An effective Stoic practice for dealing with what others think of us is the exercise of anticipating evils. This involves anticipating and mentally preparing for possible criticism, judgments, or negative opinions that may arise. The goal of premeditatio malorum is not to indulge in pessimism or fear, but to strengthen our emotional resilience and develop a mindset prepared to deal with challenges. By reflecting on possible negative events, we can consider strategies and action plans to deal with them more efficiently. We can also develop a sense of emotional detachment from desired outcomes. This means recognizing that we will not always have control over external events. We need to understand that negative events are an inevitable part of human experience. And by being aware of all these possibilities, we can prepare ourselves not to be shaken by anything, including other people's comments and judgments. Lesson number 8. No one can hurt you unless we allow it. And this does not only apply to your father, brother, or neighbor. Keep your posture towards them. Don't take into consideration what they do, but what you do to keep your freedom in conformity with nature. Nobody can hurt you if you don't allow it. They will hurt you only if you believe you are hurt in that way. You must not focus on the object of discomfort, but on your processing of it. In every interaction in your life, you must internalize the following message. You know what is going on in your head. If someone with their poor external analysis has disrespected you in any way, don't give them even a minute of your time. It doesn't improve your life in any way. The only thing that can happen is that your mood will be disturbed. How much longer do you intend to take to become worthy of the highest progress and to follow the dictates of reason? You have been given a philosophical principle with which you should be familiar. What other master are you waiting for to start correcting yourself? You are no longer a teenager, but an adult. So if you remain negligent, lazy, and always putting things off, adding excuse after excuse, your life will go unnoticed without having progressed. You will remain a child until the day you die.